a virtual DJ, right? Because I know some
That's
clubs,
awesome.
especially here, in my area, have actual DJs in the evening.
Yes,
Uh,
we do.
so it was really interesting to sort of have this AI thing, and everyone's talking about AI these days, and that
Yeah,
I'm in the 5 a.m. club, so getting that at 5 a.m.
right.
was pretty interesting.
That is awesome. Yeah, typically, I feel like pre-COVID, we used to have DJ nights it was like
Yep.
every the first Tuesday of every month, we would have like DJs come in and spin at all the clubs, which was
Yep.
super, super fun. And we still try to do that as much as we can, but typically not the 5 a.m.s.
Yeah.
Hard to get a DJ in at 5 a.m. sometimes,
Probably,
but
probably you have an AI DJ at 5 a.m. So I guess that
exactly.
okay.
Yes.
Here we can talk about scale, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Amir, how are
It's
you this morning?
fun. I'm like, that checks out. All the DJs I know, they're kind of like night owls,
Yeah.
cause like by dint of the by dint of the job.
Yeah.
So is the is your location, is it a signature location or is it a franchise location? Do you
Mine's
know?
a signature location. No, I know they have it well advertised as a signature location.
Park Slope, right?
Cool.
That's your home club?
Fort Greene.
Fort Greene. Fort Greene. That's right. You told me that.
Yeah.
Yes. Love
Yeah.
our Brooklyn crew.
It's small, but works. And of course, when you're part of the 5 a.m. crew, you know everybody, especially
Totally.
especially when I've been doing that for years and years. So it's
Yeah.
nice. But everyone was sort of looking at each other with the DJ.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about yesterday. I was a 5 a.m.er yesterday, but I did a 6 a.m. Bikram class. I was
Oh
like,
wow.
okay,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not usually a morning person.
Mhm.
Um, but I couldn't sleep and went and it was excellent. Set my whole day up.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get started here in a minute. We'll wait for some people to come in
Awesome.
to this. Amir, thanks for coming in so early. You're probably part of 5 a.m. crew today, coming in from California.
Oh, I've had to switch over to this East Coast time zone. We were, up and at 'em quite early. I think I was part of today, like the 3 a.m. to
Oh
4
wow.
a.m.
Wow.
4 a.m. club.
Yeah. There we go.
It's
Good job.
great.
You're like, but I love it. I'm not complaining.
Sure.
That's funny.
Sure. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Excited to have this conversation today. I want to welcome everybody to this conversation where we're going to dive into what I'll call the fascinating intersection of music and exercise, a topic that all of us know but don't speak about really ever when we're concerned about routines and macros and all other kinds of things. But this is certainly an important topic, especially when it comes to taking advantage of your potential. I'm Travis Pomposello, the head of growth and innovation at Amagama, and today I am joined by Brookelyn Suddel, director of group fitness strategy and development at Crunch, and Amira Polack, CEO and founder of Struck Club. And as I said, we'll be exploring how music influences our fitness journeys, from the science behind its power and potential benefits to how you can use it or how it can be used. But first, let me start with you, Brooklyn. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Brooklyn. I am the director of group fitness strategy and development here at Crunch, which is a total mouthful. So, in a nutshell, I oversee all of the group fitness programming here at Crunch on the signature side, and I also oversee our Crunch Plus platform, which is our new digital platform for on-demand and live stream workouts. Both of which, are in club and our digital offerings. Music is, of paramount importance. So, Travis, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about music and exercise together.
Thank you. I look forward to talking about this with you. Amir, how about you? Tell us a little about yourself and what you do.
Thanks for having me, Travis. And my name is Amira Polack. I'm the founder and CEO at Struct Club. Struct Club stands for bringing structure to fitness instruction and especially music-inspired fitness instruction. So I started Struct Club back in 2018 when I was teaching group fitness myself personally, and I felt like I needed material inspiration for workout creation, specifically driven to the tempo and the structure and the energy of music in class. And so that's what really we've created at Struck Club. it's an app for group fitness instructors of all modalities, and it provides them with templatized workouts, playlists, and also the coaching script that they need. So if you go to a fitness class, and hopefully at a crunch, of course, I was actually inspired to initially teach at Brookelyn. I don't even know if you know this, but at Crunch signature location in Burbank, it was a we know this is a spinning class, but an indoor cycling class. And that was kind of where the light went off in my mind of,
Love that.
I love these classes. I love moving to music. I grew up as a kid in sports and music and dance. And it just, that was like the first time at that Crunch location, it all clicked. And I was like, I'm curious what it would take to become a teacher. And we'll dive into this, but it was a lot harder than I thought, even coming from an athletic and music back and dance background. And I was thinking, I was just like assuming there would be an app out there that would assist group fitness instructors, would assist me in programming and having templatized ready-made stuff for my club. And there wasn't. And so that's really what Struck Club's become. And I mean, I have loved so far nerding out with you, Travis, and Brookelyn about this topic ever since we've met together. I think actually all of us had met initially at the Connected Health and Fitness Summit in Los Angeles, which is it's an honor also to serve on the advisory board of. But I'm certainly excited for this conversation today.
Yeah, likewise. Well, speaking of nerding out, let's talk a little bit about some of the science. I think it's interesting. I did some research on my own research, looking around the science, and it's a little all over the place. And I think, it's really great to have this conversation, to at least be able to, move out a hypothesis and to really give, what we've experienced and what we've seen. And in the case of the two of you, what you're providing, I call fitness enthusiasts or people taking classes to, simplify that. One of the overarching pieces of that the research seems to agree on is enhancing physical performance, reducing perceived exertion, and increasing endurance. Brookelyn, I'll start with you. I mean, how or do you leverage, that scientific understanding in Crunch to create playlists or, through the app? Or any other places inside of the clubs?
Yeah. So from my perspective, I think I'm better suited to speak to the group fitness and personal training kind of experience. And there's a ton of training that all of our instructors and our trainers go through once they're onboarded at Crunch. And it's funny, I was thinking about it recently, and I was like, wow, one of the main pieces of advice I always give to my instructors is your music is your first impression. It sets up the tone for how your class is going to go, because if your class starts at 7 p.m., people are going to start walking in at 6:45. You may not be ready. You might be still getting your workout done. You might be helping a new member, but whatever music you have playing in the room, that starts to set the tone. It's your first impression to everybody that's walking in, and based on what you're teaching, it's going to kind of set the stage for what people are getting get ready to expect. So I've walked into classes before, and I know that I'm coming in for a strength workout, and I have some really soft Colby Calais playing, and I'm like, hang on, this isn't setting me up for success or setting myself up for jumping into a strength workout. So and one of the great things that we've done recently here at Crunch is we partnered with Struct Club to really amplify our ride experience, our in-club ride experience. And I think music is of paramount importance for all formats, but specifically ride, because when you think about it, you're on a bike going nowhere in a dark room with a bunch of other sweaty people. So how do you make that, how do you make that fun? How do you make it enjoyable? How do you make it something that you want to come back to again and again and again? And also, how do you make sure you're getting a really good workout? And I think it all really starts and stems from the playlist. Perceived exertion, when you when you have a really good song going that has a lot of energy, that energy is just going to kind of piggyback onto your own. If you have something with a really great beat, it just helps you to push through and to get through your workouts. Having a cadence certainly helps. It's like when you're folding laundry. Once you get started with the t-shirts, you're just kind of going and going and going. So if you have that beat to stay with, you're going to get that extra rep because the beat's not dropping, so you can't drop either. So music is of absolute paramount importance. And I would, I think what I would love to see even a little bit more is people that are working out on the gym floor. If you're not a class person, if you're not a trainer, all good. But tap into your music a little bit when you're going to your gym floor workouts, because you'd be amazed at how the right playlist for you is going to just amplify your workout and make you feel like you've just done more and feel really good by the end of your sweat session.
Yeah, I love that we said about beat drop. I think that's
the beat drop.
Speaking about beat and mood, because I think mood is super important here, especially in group fitness, and getting I don't know, let's call it getting the group into sort of a hive mentality, right, and feeding off each other's mood and each other's excitement for being there, or even transforming that. Amira, you and I have talked about this, about maybe the sweet spot between 120 and 140 beats per minute. How do you consider tempo and rhythm, in your platform in Struct Club to optimize motivation for the classes, but also the instructors?
Yeah, Travis, and I mean, Brookelyn too, everything that you have said just completely hits the nail on the head. And you're exactly right. Up until even 2019, just the research and the publications have been generally all over the place when it comes to really giving people tools and equipping themselves, whether it's group fitness or outside, just like people in their own personal lives, where we have these conversations all the time. What I've learned in the past 6 years at Struct Club, now we're in 70 countries with thousands of instructors who've conducted millions of experiences. So a lot of robust data. Those instructors have created hundreds of thousands of classes in our platform, and we have collected hundreds actually of millions of data points around the correlation between how professionals program music, how they do things like utilize tempo in particular songs and pair that with exercises, how they sequence that, and so many variables within music, one key one being tempo. And so when you mention that sweet spot of 120 BPM plus, in fact, there was a poll of 72,000 popular songs dating from 1960 up until the present day, and the prevailing tempo that where popular music kind of seems to get stuck on is 120 to 130. However, now it's been more recently studied, and I would point people, for those who love to really nerd out about this to the next level, finally kind of a meta-analytic review of 139 studies, robust, like 35,000 participants, called The Effects of Music in Exercise and Sport. Go ahead, Google that. It's on the National Library of Medicine. Kostas Karagorgis is one of the researchers and publishers who is a foremost voice on music, behavioral psychology, and the science in exercise and sport. But now there's all this data showing that actually like 85, or if you would double that, 190, to take people out of that kind of sweet spot zone is a very natural pace for running. You also kind of want a mid-tempo. Most people would think that if I lower the tempo of the music as slow as possible, that's going to promote recovery in between those high intensity points. It's actually not the case. Something at a mid-tempo is going to be ideal. And so there are lots of common misconceptions around like, oh, I'm going to do this with the tempo without the bridge there in fitness professional education or in fitness education broadly, because this meta-analytic review that I'm quoting, that was actually published in 2019. So it's pretty recent, December 2019, which is right before the pandemic. And so that bridge hasn't been built. And these are one of the, some of the topics that Brookelyn and I and our teams are working on together. My lights just went out real quick with some of the education stuff that we're doing at Crunch. But also we have readily made available in the Struct Club app. So templated classes that are just done for you, done for instructors already, ready-made in the app. We take these tempo considerations. What's good at, exactly as Brookelyn was saying, at the beginning of class, pre-class music that's going to be conducive to setting the mood and doing things like affecting tempo, affecting heart rate, tempo affecting mood. 120 plus with a lower tempo or a higher tempo preceding it can lift people out of psychological fatigue. So there are a lot of elements with tempo, with relative tempo. And we could talk about this just tempo alone, of the many variables for hours, of course, as you can see, that we have just kind of done for you when it comes to group class construction and the templates that we publish in the app, and that we do specifically proprietarily for partners, depending on their formula and the brand voice and vibe that they're trying to create.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Amira, because I do, as recovery becomes such a hot topic, especially now with wearables, tracking these things for us and thinking about recovery, thinking about, cool down periods. And, I think, thanks to a lot of, new popular books and podcasts are all, talking about tempo training and building VO2 max and these things. Even my own experiments of, VO2 max training and lowering the tempo during the break periods and, upping the tempo just in the exertion periods is pretty fascinating. I mean, if I don't change the tempo, my heart rate doesn't really come down to what it would come, what it comes down to. Brooklyn, I'm sure that is somewhat of a challenge in selecting, music for cool down periods for group classes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially since everybody's different. So, really curious about how you approach that.
Yeah, it's so interesting because there's so much science around music, and there have been, like Amira was speaking to, there have been so many studies done where you can Google like what's the right BPM for this particular workout, and I think the range between 120 to 130 or 40 is a great kind of like overarching thing for group fitness classes, specifically, running and cardio, things that need to have a consistent BPM. But music is also, it's very subjective. So the way, a piece of music makes you feel isn't necessarily the way it's going to make someone next to you feel or someone else in your class feel. It's also because the health and fitness world has just kind of like, it's exploded, right? Like it's not just, you can't go to the gym, or you no longer go to the gym and you only have an option of like yoga, Pilates, spinning, right? Like there are so many different classes. I mean, off the top of my head, in our library, I think we have 600 to 700 different classes here at Crunch. So, and overseeing a team of 600 to 700 instructors. So, if I'm teaching a Pilates class and Amira's teaching a Pilates class, the goal for my class might be, cardio burn and caloric burn, and maybe Amira's class is focused more on recovery or more mobility. So the music for those two classes are going to be very different. Maybe my style of music is going to be a little bit different. So what I tell my instructors and my trainers is nobody knows your class the way you know it, right? Like you know your class absolutely best. So when you're selecting the music, you need to put yourself through your class with your music. And I always tell instructors, I'm like, put yourself through your class. You need to do it full out and cue it full out. And if you could do that, then that's something that is probably going to work for your group. If you're someone like me who gets very nervous before literally any class you teach, I'll do it full out a couple of times just to make sure that I can stay in it. And I give that example to people that are looking for a workout, maybe on Crunch Plus as well. Hey, I don't really know. I want to do a yoga workout, or I want to do a cardio-based workout. I don't know which one to choose. I'm like, okay, scroll halfway through, do a 5-minute chunk in the middle. And if the pace, the tempo, the music, if all of that's feeling good, then it's probably a solid workout for you. But as it goes for just different styles and genres of music, I love to cue my instructors to, choose something that really lights their fire, right? Because, and that is uplifting in a sense, because when you walk into the gym, you're putting your body under stress. A lot of people get stressed out just being in a room, having to do the same thing alongside other people. So like, you're already kind of in the negative, right? You're already like, oh my God, I've got to sweat. I'm putting my body under stress. My heart rate's going up. Like, that fight or flight response is kind of kicking in. So can we choose music that's going to lift our perception of what we're doing, to elevate our mood? I think that, music tapping into one of our main five senses, being our hearing, is one of the most essential things um, that is a part of a class. And honestly, it's one of the things we hear the most feedback about too. If somebody does not have a good playlist, I know about it immediately. And if somebody has a rockin' playlist, I pretty much know about that really quick too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's just stay with that, Amira. I know we have plenty of people, listening and watching today who are fitness professionals, and instructors. I think you're both experts on this. Amira, I'll start with you. I mean, what do you think the biggest challenges, let's call it, instructors commonly face when incorporating music into their classes? I know, Brooklyn, you said about, you rehearse it before to help you sort of get with it. But, Amira, a little bit about, your thoughts on that as an instructor, but also how Struck Club could help an instructor overcome that.
Yeah, it's such a great question, and I'll share a quick story, and it's a little bit related to the origin story behind Struck Club. But before I started Struck Club, before the idea had even dawned on me, I was getting started myself as just going from a fitness enthusiast to a fitness professional, and I was preparing my first classes and putting together, really that combination of movement sequence as well as playlists, and really thinking carefully about the words that I was choosing and when, if that came in tandem and had alignment with maybe the lyrical elements of the music and the spaces between the lyrics, so that I'm not interrupting and creating cognitive dissonance with audiences, which is something that is very common. In my first class alone, to sum it all up, it maybe took 10 hours of preparation. And that's hyperbolic, of course, for like the brand new instructor. Like when you're new to something in general, you don't have the mastery and it takes a lot of time. But in reality, fast forward into the future, instructors actually generally aren't paid for the preparation time, and they don't have a lot of preparation time. They're really, paid when it comes to teaching classes. And so when you roll into, for any of us out there going to a facility or a gym or a club, and we're rolling into a facility and into a class, there's a big question mark as far as preparation goes, simply based on the free time that those of us who are in the fitness professional space have to prepare class. And so, for me, it was a privilege personally growing up, being able to play sports and to be involved in music and dance. Growing up in the public school system, I had a lot of friends where, they just couldn't really do that outside of class. They had to help put food on the table for their brothers and sisters or family, whoever it is that they were caring for, maybe some grandparents as well, very common in just the neighborhoods that I grew up in. And so there's this question of like, who's able to be prepared, who's able to have all of that free time outside of class, and then who's able to be on the mic conducting the classes, who's able to invite people to classes, who becomes welcome, who feels like they belong in classes, by dint of who's selecting the material, the playlist, and how much free time that they have. So just the simple variable of free and extra time was just a big question mark. Just personally, we were like, how can we streamline this? How can we make just anybody who has the passion for being a coach, for serving their communities, who are mission driven, to involve people in exercise in this healthy community driven and really fun way to be active? How can we just get more of those people up on the podium and on the mic? Yeah. And just by giving them the tools, having it just done for you, but also still editable, because the creative agency in Brooklyn, this is something we've talked about a lot. And we have a number of Crunch teammates and instructors who signed up, who've been using us for, I think something like 4 or 5 years in some cases, from coast to coast, who are really creative when it comes to playlists. And that's amazing. Being able to have it done for them so they don't have to spend too much time, but giving them a creative agency so that they can put their own special flavor. If there's a song request from a community member or an artist that they love that they want to see, or a theme that's coming up. Mother's Day is about to come up, and I will share that 70% of our user base are women, a lot of powerful mamas and women who serve moms too. And that's always every year a huge theme in terms of playlists. you can imagine how many themes can come up, but it, you know, that question of time and who has all of that extra time, and how can we streamline that to provide better access.
I'd love to just piggyback off of that. I think, you know, the biggest challenge for instructors when coming to prepare a class, I think, is I think curating the playlist is one of the toughest things to do. You know, speaking from experience, I teach many different formats, and you know, for a strength building class, I have one methodology of putting together a playlist, and for something like a Pilates or a yoga class, I have a very different methodology of things. There's you know, there are great resources out there, you know, on Spotify and Apple Music, even apps like Fit Radio and Power Music that have consistent BPM things and playlists kind of already curated, which you know, they're great. They're great in for certain things. Specifically in my weightlifting classes, I try to actually stay off the beat. So I like to put on just a random playlist, something random that I can't necessarily catch the beat right away, because that allows me to kind of focus a bit more on form and get my members a little bit out of their heads, a little bit out of the music for a second, to bring themselves back into their bodies. But when it comes to like a Pilates class or a dance class, I will spend that, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours prepping it. Right? Because I think about the kind of arc of a class too. I'm warming everybody up. I need to hit a peak at some point. And what's that peak track? What's that moment where everybody's just going to feel the energy? We're all going to pull from each other. And then how do I bring them back down? I also think refreshing playlists for especially for very seasoned instructors. We have some instructors at Crunch that are just like, I mean, all of my instructors are amazing, but we've had some here that have been here, you know, for 20, 25 years that are just like unreal, incredible human beings. And I think as instructors, we find comfort once we find a playlist that works. I have in my little notebook, I'll like make a star on a class plan. I'm like, oh, that one worked. Let me do that again. And then I pair it with a playlist. And I find that instructors and trainers, if a trainer is using, you know, a speaker as well, we get really comfortable and our playlist work. This works. Why fix something that's not broken? But it's so important. Because if you have the same playlist going again and again and again, you lose those benefits of, you know, increasing your exertion and decreasing perceived exertion. You lose it because now you're no longer like in the music. You're like, been there, done that. It's, you know, the same thing I eat for breakfast every day, the same playlist I'm hearing, you know, every week. So it's we have to encourage people to refresh their playlists. And being able to tap into something like Struct is just amazing because you can also look at playlists that are curated by other really talented, amazing instructors. And that I think is probably the third biggest challenge for a lot of my group fitness instructors, especially when you're a trainer at you know, a big box gym or a studio. It is the number of people you get in your class. It's your lifeline. It's your lifeblood. It's the only thing that is going to keep that class on the schedule and keep that studio or gym paying you to be there, right? Is getting bodies in the room. And once you build that up and you have a rapport with people, they know that they love your style, they love your music, they love the vibe of class. And then it's like, oh no, I have a family vacation planned and I have to sub out my class. It's like, oh no, what if the sub like ruins my retention rate? So, you know, one of the things that I've always done is I send everybody a little outline and then I send them a link to a playlist. And that's one of the things that I think, Amira, you and I have talked about so much. And I think it's such a gift to be able to have something like Struct that not only gives you a playlist, but also gives you like cueing and direction. And it really takes that 10 hours of prep time and pulls it all in together and delivers you as the sub a successful class plan. So even as a sub walking in, that's scary too, right? Walking into another like heavy hitter instructor's class, you're like, hi, I'm subbing. And they look at you like you just like burnt their toast and you're like, oops. But yeah, being able to come away with like a package of a great class with great music, it's like, you know, win, all the check boxes right there.
Brookelyn, what you're saying resonates even with just on a personal level so much. Truth be told, the match that, or the situation that lit the match under my butt, so to speak, to start Struct Club was a subbing situation where after 6 months of teaching at the very outset. I had built my regular crew. Finally, you spend all this time as a coach, just like building your regular crew. And there was a week where I had to sub out because I had to go on a trip. It was a school trip at the time. And there wasn't really a way at the time pre-Struck Club to convey the playlist, the program, everything that you said, the cues that go along with the playlist, how to say things to the sub. And so I started to, when I came back, in a nutshell, there were only 40% of my people left. 60% of my regulars in 1 week had left. I'm like, okay, this is a business problem, but let me dig in a little bit deeper. For the folks who are left, was the workout bad? They're like, actually, no, it was great. I burned more calories. I rode more miles. The workout was even better than your workouts. I'm like, okay, so you got a better workout and 60% of people left. What, so was the coach mean or something? Like, actually, no, the coach was great. The coach is a full-time coach and they were really nice. And like, so you had a great workout, you had a great coach, and still 60% of you are not, what am I missing here? And they were like, well, because the coach does this full time, they just use the same playlist and the same workout every day. The structure of the workout was a little bit different. It didn't really go with the music. There was only one type of tempo, one type of sound, one type of genre. And we were just kind of tuning out after a while. And what dawned on me is our audiences, those of us who are just general consumers to fitness, we're just like trying to work out, increasingly have a really sophisticated sense of structure of class and a sophisticated, really smart and elevated expectation of the experience. And so combine that with the fact that, and Brookelyn, to your point on keeping music fresh, 70,000 new songs are published on Spotify every day. That's their latest stat. How do we keep up with all of that new music, right? So there's all of this that factors into, gosh, like the challenge in creating an amazing and crisp and structured music driven experience that meets the expectation, this growing expectation that we are all having.
There's so many, like you said, I mean, the variety is just, it's unreal. And for classes that are really kind of based on the music, things like, treadmill based classes or spin classes, ride classes, or dance classes are, it's a lot of work for those instructors to put everything together. So if you go and you ever take a wonderful class that you just love, just know that instructor probably spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, not just pulling the playlist, but also making sure, Amira, like you said too before, like you pay attention to where the lyrics are, right? So you're not interrupting Beyonce while you're climbing a hill. And we, I think also it's interesting to talk about volume of music too in different classes. I'm somebody that I like things that are fast and loud. I'm just a very loud, fast person. I think a lot of us are like that in New York, but I'm a loud, fast person. So we prioritize music. What I'm getting at is we here at Crunch, we prioritize music and prioritize like the level of music being appropriate for the workout as well. So quick story, we have a signature location here in Midtown, right on West 38th Street. And during the pandemic, we got new neighbors, which is so fun, right? We got new neighbors. But those new neighbors, once everybody was coming back to the gyms, unfortunately, the CEO's office is right above our group fitness studio. So we were playing music and we were getting a ton of complaints back and forth. So we put a limiter on, we took the volume down, and it really affected classes. I had some permanent classes there weekly at that time. And one of them was Chisel, which is a strength-based workout with cardio bursts. And I'll tell you, it is really hard to get motivated, stay motivated, and get through a class when the music is so low. So I have a friend who just happened to have a silent disco style company called Quiet Events, ended up partnering with them. And now we have, if you go to West 38th Street, you can totally try it out. We have headphones. So when you check in, if you're taking any cardio-based class, or strength-based class, or dance-based class, the front desk will hand you a set of headphones. And what the instructor does is they have their microphone and their headphones on. So you get the instructor right into your ear. You get to control the volume. I love my volume all the way up, max loud. There are some members that are like, Brookelyn, tone it down a little bit. So they get to just they get to tone me down on their own as much as they want to. So we've tapped into that, and that has been really successful, really fun. It kind of allows you to just kind of immerse into the fabric of the class. We've also started playing around with picking the workout you want to do based on the music. So we have silent disco dance parties at our crunch locations, where you may see 3 or 4 instructors all teaching at the same time. And when you walk in, we'll give you a set of headphones, and you can toggle between the channels, right? So maybe on like the green channel, when the headphones are lighting up green, it's like a Latin rhythms dance class. Oh, I love that. So you just pop over to this side of the room and you dance Latin rhythms. Then you could change it to red. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is like 80s rock. So now you're with the 80s rock instructor dancing. And then if you're like, oh, I don't like that song, you toggle to blue, and now it's hip hop, and you're dancing hip hop with another instructor. So we've kind of like put it back onto the member. Hey, what do you want to listen to? Oh, this one? You like this song? This song is bringing your knees out of retirement? Amazing. Stay here, stay with that, and jump into that instructor. So it gives a little bit more of a bespoke experience while still being, driven by something we all have in common, which is music.
That's great. I was just going to ask you both about, your thoughts around the future of how music and technology are going to, advance and continue to grow. And Brookelyn, that's a great example of, what Crunch is doing in that area. Amira, what do you envision, far as technology, playing a part in enhancing what's called music-driven fitness experiences?
Yeah, one of the things that, and I love Brooklyn's term of bespoke, but what we hear in tech land a lot is personalization, personalization, personalization. And there is a prevailing myth that group exercise experiences can't be personal because they're generic workouts, right? But actually, there are so many tactics with music, and some of it, Brooklyn's a master at this. I've been able to just have the privilege of going to class with her, of really knowing your audience. The instructor presents an opportunity to create that connection, but also technology, being able to disseminate. I'll just share our top performing class of this season, or actually maybe even over the past half year thematically, is something that we like to call the Cosmic Collection. Mm-hmm. And what's that? My simple question is, what is your sign? Whatever sign you are that month, there are a lot of popular artists that share, and great artists that share that sign too. And so there have been these playlist collections that we've launched to bridge both that group, that community, with that personal connection in a fun way to say, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Anybody in this class, like, who's your birthday? And we have trivia throughout the class too, in the queuing, like, all right, it's Taurus season. Did you know that Janet Jackson is a Taurus? Everyone's like, oh, and her birthday is May 16th. If people are like, oh, me too, or my birthday's the day before Janet, or the day after Janet. Really, like, I believe as a professional and all of my career in business software, even leading up to Struck Club, that technology really should be an enablement tool in human connection, where so much of technology that we're familiar with today, even though it's presented as connecting, social media, for example, can actually be isolating. And some of the things that we're talking about with Crunch and Struck Club, with Brookelyn and I and our teams, is really about how can we utilize technology to enable that human connection, to enable that personal connection, to enable communities coming together, because that is a theme in technology that I really believe in. And I hope that those who, anybody in the tech community who are watching, we might potentially even have some investors, financiers who are watching, and innovators, people with ideas, aspiring entrepreneurs who are watching. How can you utilize technology as a way to facilitate, increase human connection and enablement of humanity, as opposed to replacement? We were talking about, even before this call, Travis, Brookelyn, AI. There's a prevailing fear that AI is here to replace humanity. For us, when we use automation and AI, how can we enhance creativity, enhance human connection, and make life better?
Yeah. And tools like, tools like using AI, it also just it streamlines, it streamlines things, right? So we should never be losing the community, the connection, the camaraderie that comes with exercise and fitness, right? Like during the pandemic, a lot of us were very isolated and kind of, doing stuff all on our own. And I've watched it in all of our gyms, and I've watched, people that are out on the gym floor and they've have their device down by themselves. They've got their headphones in, and for a little while there, the gym kind of became a little bit of like a group isolation, if you will. Everyone was very plugged in. But I think, with the help of music and with the help of sharing common interests, i.e. music, I know we've definitely changed our music strategy in clubs. We do, themes on different days. The biggest compliment we can get when you walk in the gym is if you're working out without headphones, right? It's like, oh, wow, okay, we did a good job. We've got some good music going. So I love using innovation to facilitate more, right? Like that personalization, and then just using the power of music to increase all of that connection, engagement. Amira, Travis, what are both of your signs? Now I'm very curious.
Amir, you first.
I don't like to brag about this because we Capricorns have reputations, but that's very squarely in the December 26th, which is like, everybody's tired after Christmas.
Yeah.
It's a very low key birthday.
Nice.
Sure. Well, this will be no surprise to the two of you who know me. 100% Virgo, right smack in the middle. No shock there. Speaking about the AI piece, I think you both touched on it. And I would hate for a professional instructor to be discouraged by that. AI can certainly help you scale, but as of today, who knows in the future, it doesn't have taste. And that's the big difference, right? So use it to help yourself scale, create more playlists, do the research about the 70,000 new songs. Still comes down to taste. And your class better than anybody, and what they're gonna like.
Brookelyn, wait. I'm sorry to interrupt, Travis.
Oh, no,
I'm like suspense. What's your sign?
I'm a Libra. I'm a Libra, right smack in the middle of October.
That's great.
Very balanced.
Going in a different direction for the people who are here who are not professionals, who are attendees of classes, can't always make it to a class. Sometimes you find yourself on the stationary bike or on the treadmill, Stairmaster or whatever, or just, work out on the floor. Would love for the two of you to give some opinion and some advice about curating your own personal playlist, or what's a good way to look for that. I think we all get into a rut sometimes of what am I going to listen to today? And we just pick the same playlists that we picked 2 days before. So I'd love to, get a little insight from the two of you.
Yeah, that's such a good question, because there's, when I'm thinking back to my days of training for fitness competitions, which are very, very fun, but also exhausting, right? And we have to get in our own workouts, kind of on our own very, very often. So I was always looking to refresh my playlist. I think my best tactic, if I'm building a playlist for myself, is I hold on to 4 to 6 tracks that I know are like, these are the tracks that like my 35-year-old needs to come out of retirement for. Like, these are the ones that are going to get me up and get me moving no matter what. And I personally love some of the suggested, like, based on your listening, we recommend these songs. That's kind of my favorite way to find new music. In the car when I'm driving, I don't actually really listen to the radio so much anymore. I tend to go for something more like podcasts and whatnot. I think just because my 24/7 day is surrounded by music. But if you're looking to build something for your own playlist, start with a song that is going to get you up and moving. a song that you cannot sit still with. And then sprinkle in a couple more of those heavy hitter tracks in your playlist, and discover new music. Discovering new music and having a fresh song that you're like, that you want to listen to on repeat. You're like, just live rent free in my head for the next year. Like those are the songs that are going to amplify your workouts the best.
Yeah. Now I have to ask. So what is your go-to kick it into high gear for a class
Okay.
yourself?
Okay. For myself, it's Don't Stop. It's Don't Stop, pop that, don't stop. That one.
Yep.
And for a class, based on the classes like I'm teaching right now and the membership base that we have right now, if I put on anything, if I'm looking to like bring the love in, anything Taylor Swift, anything Beyonce, or anything from like 2000 to 2010, I find is pretty solid in my circle these days.
That's great. Amira, but I mean, put that to you as well as, some advice for, for our fitness enthusiasts.
At Struct Club, we have a free resource. If you find
Right.
Struct Club on Spotify, we publish a lot of our playlists just out there for free. So you could just go ahead, jump on, click play. It's free.
It's great, by the way. It's
And
really great.
oh, I'm so glad. Travis, are you snooping on our playlist?
I do my research for
I
these
follow.
So good. So yeah, even some of the playlists that I had referenced, I think our most recent ones that we published was a series of, for those of you who like remixes, we got some remix tracks. For those of you who like mashups, I think that is just a category of songs, the old, the new, the refreshed, taking something tried and true, but like giving it a little new spin. What we see in the room just drives people off the walls in a great way. A lot of involuntary whoops and like towel swings. We just see that a lot with the remixes and the mashups. One of the reasons being that, so we've been talking about important song characteristics and variables in music, like tempo, like volume, really critical, but also familiarity. And this is a delicate one because as we were talking about, too much familiarity can get boring, bring you out of the zone. But the right amount of familiarity has actually been shown to help people. If you want to make yourself, or any, say for those of us who are instructors out here, to feel confident, to feel empowered, to feel a fun sense of anticipation as a hard push is coming, that familiarity variable in the music can help out a lot. Has been shown to be very conducive to that piece of the emotional and psychological journey you may want to be creating for yourself or creating for your community. So just a little tool, like quick tip and trick there. For music, the rent-free song Living in My Head today has been a Sam Smith remix by Calvin Harris, and I think as well Steve Aoki, called Desire. It's so much fun. And on those mornings where I'm rolling out of bed and I'm like, oh, can I make it? We all have those days, even those of us who are fitness professionals, I'll admit it. Rolling out, being like, can I do it? Just putting on that song. It starts like kind of mysteriously and has a nice gradual build that, all right, just like helps me to lift me out and boot me up for the day.
That's great. That's great.
Mary, I love that you're talking about like the feelings that music evokes. As I think that it's really important, right? So the feeling that you want to create in a class or in a workout, right? Like I want to be boosted up. I want to feel confident. I'm trying this new piece of equipment that I've never seen before in the gym. I want to feel confident. I want to feel like, I can do this. I can push through. Music plays on our emotions so much too, right? Like if you have a lot of nervous, anxious energy, one of my favorite things to do is just get in the car and turn on one of those songs that I know I could just like sing out loud to, like sing in the shower to, and it helps to release that nervous energy, right? There's a block of classes that I'm working on now that are more in like the vitality space versus wellness. I think wellness is something that you attend a class for wellness. You put yourself into a wellness circle. And when we talk about vitality, it's things that are vital to live a healthy healthy and successful, effective life, right? And so those are workouts that aren't really around like, I want to build my biceps, I want to shrink my waistline. These are workouts that are like, I'm neurodivergent, I have ADHD, it's hard for me to concentrate, maybe I have a lot of anxiety in my life. How can I channel my energy in a way that's going to just make my life feel better? So I've been playing a lot with different different movements, and then pairing with music or not using music at all. I think there's so much power in music itself, and there's also so much power in deciding when and where to use music and when to pull it out. In these types of classes, we're also playing with different frequencies. There was a research study done with different airlines that they were able to lower people's anxiety during the boarding and the deboarding process by playing music. So next time you're on a flight, but as you're getting on and getting off, take a listen, because you can use music in the right way to evoke emotions out of people. And being a group fitness instructor, sometimes people are coming in at the end of a work day and it was a horrible work day, or they just got fired, or like they're coming in with whatever they're coming in with, and it's our job as instructors to bring them where we want them to be, emotionally, right? So I think making the right music choices there too is, or lack of music choice is something to think about for sure.
Well said. Well said. I want to give time for some questions and have one that came in already,
Awesome.
that I'll put out there. Coming from our live stream on LinkedIn Live, it says, "Love this. Curious to know if there will be new data on the Challengers soundtrack and the influence on exercise."
Oh, Challengers, that was a fun one. Actually, I would say so far, that was one of the top new movies that I've seen this year. We all love Zendaya, right? And I was told before the movie by one of my sisters who had seen it prior, get ready for the EDM. Get ready for and if you look into the background behind the director and the team, there are some European influences there in and a relationship that I saw between the things that were going on in the movie, the interplay with tennis, being in the zone, in the flow. This is one thing I just loved about the movie, seeing those points where they're in the zone of playing tennis and also in the zone of the relationship dynamics. The cue on of like the music, that sequence of, I would call it like Euro house, maybe trans in terms of genre overlap, things that I would hear going to Germany in like the warehouse club, like that really immersive, like echoey and pulsing EDM music. But I could recognize, I mean, just to give a quick analysis, and maybe we could just do a whole talk on this recap of Challengers. We'll do it next week, y'all. But I love this question. But they use that music in a nutshell to represent folks being in the zone, in the flow state, in tapping in to into that place of at a very like forceful and very intense place, both psychologically but also physically.
Amir, I have another question for you, and I want to get to it before we're out of time. What key trends in the fitness industry have inspired your vision for the future of music and exercise, and how would you say Struck Club meets those trends?
Ooh, the trends of let me see if I get this. Trends of music and exercise in the future pertaining to Struck Club technology.
The fitness industry. What's inspired your vision for the future of music and exercise, and how would you say Struck Club meets those trends?
I would say, for me, digging back, a lot of us who are in this industry, Brookelyn and I both have very personal stories, and often to do with like childhood, upbringing, the things that brought us happiness and pastimes as children, and influenced us in just formative days and moments as humans, in our social lives, maybe in our families, that create that connection that propels us and helps us as folks who are in the industry to find meaning, but also to have impact. and purpose. Uh, Now, what we've seen, and this is like indisputable in society since the pandemic, is an increase in loneliness, an increase in static lifestyle and behavior, an increase in disconnection, this epidemic of mental health. And so many just direct physiological epidemics in health. This is the opposite trend of fitness, but an increasing trend that we have to combat that is more urgent than ever. And just the question of like what personally inspires me and fires me up is the impact of what we do. Our core values as a company are impact, inclusion, and authenticity. That's how we design the technology. That's how we design the experiences, the content that we put out there. It really informs, it's the pillar of our entire operating model. And they're principles that I just believe in as a human and a professional. And so when we look out into the future of fitness and including more people when it's really needed more than ever at this point in time, I really do think we need more innovation, technology, and just Struck Club, what we're doing, bringing more people into fitness, making it more accessible, enjoyable, so that people can really look forward to something amazing in their day, coming together with new friends, existing friends in their community, building local relationships, contributing to their social well-being, as well as their physical well-being, their psychological, mental health individually, and really driving that connection. So those are points of inspiration. Those are some really important trends that we're seeing, and ways that just really like inspire us in our technology at Struck Club, how we're meeting it today, how we plan to meet that in the future.
Brooklyn, I'll throw it to you. You could, if you would answer the same question from, your perspective as well as, Crunch's perspective.
Sure. So I think, looking ahead, like we said, there's 70,000 new songs coming out every day, right? So, looking ahead with, fitness and music and how do those all come together? I think it's innovation. I think it's innovation and technology, and it's leaning into those things at the right moments, to be able to discover the right music that's going to work for your class, your members, your own personal workouts. I think the future of music is going to just continue to be bigger, as music becomes more easy to produce. So I think that the next step for the power of music as it pertains to fitness is just making it more accessible and making it easier to find. It's kind of,
Yeah.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Well,
Awesome.
I wish we could continue, but we're come to our end, and I think you're right, Amira. We definitely have to do a part two. I wanted to also talk about some of the benefits of working out in silence. For example, Brooke, we were talking about the Bikram yoga class you took this morning,
Yes.
and
Silence.
relaxation and those things. So we'll have to definitely do a follow-up on this, especially as more research comes out. And but I want to thank you both, Brooklyn and Amira, for joining us today and sharing your insights. Please share with the audience where they can find you, find more out about your companies, and also I know both of you teach classes, and maybe there's an opportunity for someone to take a class with you. So Brooklyn, we'll start with you.
Sure. I am based right here in New York, teach a bunch of classes across all of the signature clubs here. I also have some classes on Crunch Plus. I'm on Instagram, BKAshFit. Slide into my DMs. Let's have a conversation. And I'd love to chat with anyone that has any other questions about music and exercise or things Crunch. It's where my nerd hat comes out. So I look forward to speaking with any and everybody.
That's great. Amira?
I would love to be in touch I'm going to drop the IG DMs. Go ahead, message me, Amira Polack, just my name and then if you prefer to check out Struck Club's Instagram and you just mention, hey, Amira, I will go in and respond to like those DMs that address me personally. My email is amira@structclub.com. But you can also find me teaching classes locally in Los Angeles on Sunday mornings, currently Wednesday afternoons, and at lunch times. So I'm around. I'm personally teaching classes myself too. And would love to continue talking to like fellow group fitness instructors. If for those who are aspiring out there to scale like music driven classes in the innovative way that Crunch does and in the ways that we're partnering together, would love to converse more about that. And we're learning a lot and just trading notes like every day. So it's a two-way conversation. Like we learn as much as we share, I believe. And so thank you so much, Travis, Brookelyn, for having me today and having this conversation with Amalgama.
It's a pleasure. Everyone can find me on LinkedIn, or you can email me directly at travis@amalgama.co. Instagram, of course, Travis Pomposello. You can find me there as well. And I'd love to know from people if you'd love a part 2 of this or a part 3. I think there's so many topics. We talked about silence. We've talked about for instructors. We've talked about for enthusiasts. I think we can get into for the amateur athlete, for the professional athlete, and so on and so on. So let me know if you'd like to have a part 2 or more, and that'd be wonderful. I'd love to work with the two of you again on something like this. So I think to wrap this up, I think it's clear that music plays a unique role in our fitness journeys in a 360 fashion. And it's great having you both. Have a great day. And to everyone that came in, until next time, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.